Hello, fellow traders. 'Tis I, the Rumpled One, coming to you on Sunday, January the 2nd, and the year is 2022. Let's talk trading. It's time for the weekly, monthly, yearly open and gap. Happy New Year, fellow traders. And this year, just like all the other previous years, these videos are for educational purposes only. Your results may differ from mine. Just remember, trading is extremely risky. You can lose all of your money. If you need trading, investment, or financial advice, seek the advice of an accredited financial professional. And always, always, always have your risk management in place. Never lose more than you're willing to lose on any one particular trade. So let's go ahead and take a look here at the weekly open. You can see the pound gapped up. It's indicated by the green, but the gap's filled. So that's why it says fill. Now we have a pair here where the gap hasn't filled. And as we're looking at the first day of the week, month, year, it's all the same day this time. So we'll be putting in the opening range for the year, month, and week today. And then next week, we'll put in a new opening range for the week. And then next month, we'll put in a new opening range for the month. So for all practical purposes, the monthly and yearly opening range will be the same through the month of January. Now, I want you to note, this is the weekly, monthly, yearly open here. The reason it says week is because when they're all the same, I go to the most recent. So we have a yearly open of 135.26. Now, your broker may differ by a pip or two, or maybe by 10 or more pips, depending on when your broker opens for trading. Just know that. But let's make a note, 35.26, because we need to keep that number in mind for the rest of the year so we know, are we above or below the yearly open. And you can see here illustrated on this gauge, year, month, year, we are 19, and year, month, week, and day, 19 pips below the open. We are back into the inside bar, the weekly inside bar that occurred 7 weeks ago. We're still in the monthly inside bar. There's the high, there's the low of the monthly that occurred 3 months ago. And you can see a lot of gray and blue, so there's a lot of inside bar action to be had. So far, no pairs have ranged over 100, but we're only 4.5 hours into the trading day. So we could probably look for price to move. And you can see here, even on a naked chart, it's exited out of that daily upper wick zone. And looking here at the buy zone, you can see we've crisscrossed across the daily, weekly, monthly, yearly open right there. You can see we closed above it once and then it's fallen below. Price is dropping. A nice trade to the south. And if you recall from those other screens, the pivot, the price opened above the pivot, so fading the pivot would have paid off nicely. Range 28, range too low. No rat zone trades at the moment. Speaking of pivot, you can see here we've already taken out the daily. The weekly pivot, 134.859, call it 86. So for the daily, we've taken it out. For the weekly, we're heading towards it. about 20 pips away at the moment. And the monthly, we're 94 pips away. Oh, and by the way, I've uploaded the first 2022 MT4 mother load to Crestlick. So if you want to go and you get all the updated indicators, the pivot plot being one of them, because I added the distance in pips here. Here is the wick zone, which is called it's a donational TRO 2014 HTBL zone. But I actually made some updates to it. You can see now we've got labels, we've got distance in pips, and here's that yearly open right here. You have the previous midpoint. This is pretty much an all-in-one indicator. And also we have the two frequency distributions, how often price closes outside of the wick zones versus inside. So it's basically 3 out of 4 times. So not bad odds. And looking at the ranges so far, we went over last month's range. So now looking at this month's range, you can see we're only at 28 in the 0 percentile. So we'll have to wait and see what's going to happen here with this monthly range. And we can also look at the weekly. You can see here, once again, 28 0 percentile. Maybe this first day, this first week, we'll have some expansion, considering last week's was only at the 41. See if it'll go above the average of 172 for the last 12 weeks. So we'll just have to wait and see what the how things play out for the month. Today seems like it's just been a red day. In fact, we've got 7 red H1s in a row. So it's like the sellers are pushing things down. We had this big return bar here. You can see price return to that level. Higher low, lower high. You can see there was a trigger here at 26.9 and price hasn't looked back. We now have a 3-ball put in. And I mentioned we wanted to remember the yearly open 35.26. So I've updated the NBSR alert. That's the no-brainer support resistance alert. So let's go ahead and put in 135. Was it 26? I like to use orange for open because of the O. 2022 open. Now, what I've done, let me show you by putting in another level here. Let's just put this at 1.35 double O and 1.3550. I made a nice little feature. You can see here we haven't exceeded 35.50, so the line's solid. You can see here we've crisscrossed this line, so it's dotted. This 30 is how many bars you check back. The indicator is going to check back to see whether or not the line has been crisscrossed. So, and you can use whatever lines types you want. Of course, it's all indicator input driven, your line width, your style here, so forth. If it's been touched or crisscrossed, you use a dot. Otherwise, it hasn't been broken or touched. It's solid. That just seemed to make sense to me. So those are the defaults. So you might think, well, big deal. But as the year moves on, you might want to put these different levels in just to be alerted, or just to have a chart where you can look at it before you start your trading session. So since you think these levels are important, then you should look at them every day, see where price is compared to those levels. And so you've got the gauge here telling you how far price is away from the different levels. Also, if you don't want to have the gauge on, you can just look at the chart, or you can even turn these off too. So TRO NBSR alert, and that's uploaded to Crestlick.com in the 2022 MT4 mother loads. One other thing, and I mentioned this a few times last year, but I was reading, there was an article, Trading Psychology or something, and they were saying that a system beats discretion almost every time. So this year, focus on your system, focus on your trading plan, and trading your plan. Not just having it on a piece of paper, then you ignore it. You do a bunch of seat of the pants calls. You let your emotions get the better of you. Don't let that happen. Instead, just make sure you are focused on executing your plan. When you get the trigger, you execute. I can't say it enough how important it is. So for example, if you're going to take this crossover here at the 3,500, you could put your trade in ahead of time. You could wait to see what happens. But when it gets there, you've already decided you're going to go short at the 3,500 level. Take the short. Now, you might go, well, maybe I should go short now. But no, you didn't say to go short at the 3,505. You said to go short at 3,500. Yeah, but it's moved all this way if it's going to get there. You don't want to talk yourself out of a good trade, because it might come to 3,501 and then go to the moon. And then had you waited, you would have never taken the trade. So unless maybe you were going to go long at 3,526, which would be the yearly open crossover, which would be a valid trade. So just remember, you probably only have, a handful of trades or levels that you're going to want to go long at or short at, or actually trade at. So just focus on those levels and don't let the indicators and candlestick patterns and news or other things distract you and get you off course. Don't worry about what somebody else says to do. It's your portfolio, it's your trade, your plan, your method, or you could be using somebody else's method, but it doesn't matter. Stick to the method. Because if you start to second guess, the worst thing that can happen is the first time it works out in your favor, and then you think you know something, and then you start to second guess every time, and then you wind up not getting the results that the system would have delivered if you had only stuck to your trading plan. That's probably the most frustrating thing, is when you don't do what your plan says to do, when it says to do it, and to see that had you done it, things would have turned out in your favor. Because what will most likely happen is you're going to not do it, then the next time you do it, and then you hit your stop loss, and then you're all mad. Whereas had you done it the first time, you would have had more than enough profit, and the stop loss, even taking the stop loss, you'd still be ahead of the game. Now you're behind. Now you're going to probably get even more emotional and do something even dumber in the future, and it's just a downward spiral. So wait for your trading signals. So, fellow traders, I really hope you had a profitable 2021. I hope 2022 is even more profitable. Thanks again for all your support and kind words. I really appreciate it. So remember, it's not what you trade, it's how you trade it. So drain the banks, TheRumpledOne over